If you attended the Cardano Summit last year in 2022, you would have received a commemorative NFT from the Turf team. Now, this was a really cool NFT. It was a map of the location of where you attended that particular Cardano Summit event. And you could print this out, you can hang it up on your wall. And who would have thought that artwork made from maps was actually a thing, and it looks really cool. I really did like some of these, and I actually went off and minted some from different locations around the world so I could give out as Christmas gifts that year. So I actually really do like some of this artwork. It's pretty cool. Now, if you happen to be at Paris Blockchain Week, the Turf team are minting a special edition of their NFTs at that particular event, with the Cardano Foundation and UNHCR, the UN Refugee Agency, and they're minting a special edition for the agency itself so they can raise awareness and funds for the really cool work that they do. If you want to learn more about what UNHCR do and how they're embracing blockchain, I did an interview and you can find out a little bit more there. The link's in the top right hand corner. But this interview, I'll be talking to the Turf team about their project, how they're incorporating the maps into their NFTs, all the digital art are all around that, and how the project actually started. They also have a really interesting mechanism of being able to pay out royalties for people that hold those specific map locations. So this is a really interesting mechanism, and I really like what they're trying to do. All right, let's get into this interview.
Yeah, gotta do it like that. You've been listening to the Learn Cardano podcast. Gotta get it hype. Crypto is what we like, but this is not investment or financial advice. Gotta do your research, cause it's risky. We know it is. This show is educational and it's informative. Crypto's the future, really, it ain't no debate.
I have the team from Turf NFT joining me on this episode. Really, really cool project. I've been watching it for quite a while. Way back in, I think, maybe 2022, I saw some initial tweets or something about this, and it really came to life at the Cardano Summit. So if you're a part of the Cardano Summit or attended any of those events, you managed to get one of these cards where you can actually mint a commemorative NFT for the location that you went to. But guys, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
Thanks. Super excited to be here, and thank you for having us.
So we'll start off a little bit about your backgrounds and how you got into the Cardano space. It's always interesting to learn a little bit about people's journeys and how they got here. So Ralph, you want to start first, and then we'll head over to Graham.
Yeah, sure. Well, actually, Harm is the reason why I became part of the Cardano community. Let's see. Let's start with the how Turf was started, actually, and that is already 10 years ago. I'm a huge cartography lover, a map art lover, and I, at some point, which was 10 years ago, created like an artistic impression of the streets of Rotterdam, which is my hometown, where I live and where I'm right now. I started trying to sell that as a print, like a canvas print that people could hang on the wall. And I immediately noticed that people just love map art, their streets, the place they grew up in, the place where they have special memories. So that was a really great little side project of mine. I stopped that after 3 months, and then I started traveling the world. But then this whole cartographic art kind of thing was still in the back of my head all that time. And then at some point I met Harm at my previous employer. And at some point he started explaining me about a project he was doing, which he will be probably telling about a bit more in a sec. And then, I connected the dots. I thought maybe it's cool to do cartographic art as an NFT on the blockchain. And that's how Turf was born. I'm personally the CTO of Turf. So I do all the implementations. I build the algorithms to create the art. I created the 3D impression of the art, and as well as the entire pipeline to mint the NFTs as well.
Very cool. And yourself, Ham?
Yeah, so I think it was during COVID that another friend of mine really started talking to me about Cardano. At first I was a little bit skeptical, but then I did my own research. I read all of the research papers around blockchain and which are most effective and most climate friendly. And then Cardano came out on top And that's really when I started to build on top of Cardano. And together with Jasper, I built Cardano Space. And then at some point, Ralph reached out and showed me this map art, and I thought, yes, that's amazing. That needs to become an NFT project. We started building at the end of, I think, 2021, and then we released it in end of Q1, start of Q2, 2022. But we really didn't get started really rolling until the summer, I think, and then immediately the Cardano summit after. And before that, I was working in fintech together with Ralph at a previous company.
Yeah, it's a really cool project, and it's hard to actually describe without actually seeing it. So I'll bring up some slides and help visualize it here at this point in the interview. But can we go through and just describe what you guys have built in regards to turf? Of course, it's artwork using maps and streets and everything and whatnot. But you guys have done it in a really cool and innovative way.
Yeah. So the essence of turf is basically that we divided the entire world surface into squares of 2 by 2 kilometers. And each square can be an NFT, can be minted as NFT only once. So all the art is one of one. So what you get if you mint a turf NFT is two things, or actually you get three things. You get an interactive 3D version, which is like the card floating in some kind of space. It's a bit interactive. You can shuffle colors. You can turn on art mode and bear mode, which, well, you might be able to show in the slides as well. You get a high resolution version that you can use for printing. So actually sending it to a print shop and framing it, putting it on your wall. Memorizing the places you love so much. We also offer a printing service ourselves. So if you don't know a good print shop, or you want just to have the original turf quality, because we only print and ship on the highest quality museum grade paper. And the third thing you actually get is a license to resell your turf. And that's the cool thing. And we'll probably talk about reselling and maybe also royalties a bit later in this chat. Basically, if you buy a turf, what you can do with it is anything. So if you want to sell the image or resell the image to your local tourist office, that is allowed. You can imagine the possibilities there, right? Lots of people, tourists, want to have this as a souvenir, or maybe your neighbors want to have it on the wall as well. You name it. If you can think of it, you can do with it. You can do it with your turf.
I did notice that in your latest mint. So we'll go over that. I minted a couple of really cool areas. I based my minting on memories of where I've been, like all the travels that I've done. So I wanted a memento of, some of those really cool places. And some of these places like no one knows of. It's like in the middle of Thailand in a house that we stayed in for like 2 months. But, for me, it was really special. So I had to mint that. So little things like that. But like users could choose one block or make a grid, a larger grid as well. And a lot of people did take up that particular offer and minted really large areas of land. Now, I want to talk about the reverse Dutch auction. I believe that's what it's called. So you started at a really high price and it slowly went down. It's a really different mechanism. You don't see many projects doing that. And I really want to talk about that one first.
Sure. So it's actually just Dutch auction, I think. So it's sort of a reverse auction, okay. And they call it a Dutch auction. The way it works is the price starts at some ridiculously high number. In our case, I think it started at 3,000 ADA. And then every half an hour, we drop a certain percentage off of that until you reach a floor price after 24 hours. And the fun thing about that is that people can sort of compete and make a really economical decision on whether they feel that the area that captures their memory is worth that at a certain price, or if they're willing to risk it going to the floor price. And I think we see that there is always some action right before the floor price is reached. So there's at least some people who don't dare risk it until the floor price. Yeah. And then, well, when the floor price is there, some people will snag up a few that they were already excited about, but they feel like they can get a good deal. And that's, basically how it works.
Did you find many people minting at a really high price, like some really key areas? Like I went to go and try and get Sydney Harbour, but that was taken, so I completely missed that. Those really iconic places where people minting really high.
Not that many. Like I think we saw some of Manhattan last time, and Rome, for instance, went at somewhat higher rates, but usually not at the highest level. Like the highest level is really high, and then people are typically happy to wait. But yeah, we do believe that there are some areas like the Sydney Harbour where we just know that so many people are interested in it that they might be willing to choose a higher price point to lock it in. And we've seen that, for instance, with Manhattan, definitely some areas went at a higher price point than floor.
Yeah. So in the context of this conversation, it might be worth mentioning that we only did the Dutch auction for what we call prime turfs. As I mentioned before, we divided the world into a grid of 2 by 2 kilometers, and like any square can be minted, has been open for the past almost year, I feel. And then at some point we started doing this Dutch auction, but only for prime turf, which is the 100 most visited cities in the world, or technically, I think it's actually 140. So we took the boundaries of the 100 most visited cities in the world, and those squares were blocked and released at these Dutch auction events that we did in the past. And like we do that because we believe that this whole royalty/reselling mechanism will at some point take off. And then, of course, there's more value in owning a square of Manhattan, or maybe even the entirety of Manhattan, versus owning this place in Thailand you just mentioned before. So in that context, it might make sense to pay more for those squares. That's where actually the idea came from.
It's actually a really cool place in Thailand, but yeah. But you're right. Maybe no one would be actually buying a physical piece of it, so that I don't get the royalties. Now let's talk about those royalties. And I thought that was a really exciting aspect for it. And like I'm trying to think about how you guys are going to implement that, and then also the legal aspects around it. So let's talk about the concept, how it's implemented, and then the legals.
Yeah. So I think royalties is something that we always wanted to do. And then it's sort of the reverse of the royalties that you typically see in the NFT space, where if you buy a turf NFT, if we then in the future ever sell a physical product or a digital product that includes the art of that NFT, then you would be entitled to receive a cut of the revenue that we make. So a simple example is we want to have a publicly facing web shop at some point where normal individuals can also buy a print of a turf art showing on it. And if your NFT is shown as a part of that image, then you would get a cut of the revenue of that particular print. And we're planning to make that about 10% for every physical item sold. I think we wanted to do that on day one already, but we really became even more passionate about it after the Cardano summit, because there we created sort of a secondary collection of turf NFTs in collaboration with the Cardano Summit team, but those did feature sort of a different color variation of the actual turf art.
Yeah.
And like at this stage, we weren't able to have the community enjoy the sort of visibility of that project with us, aside from, turf gets more visibility, right? But we do think that it's possible to start charging other event organizers for these type of NFTs as well. And then if we're able to charge, let's say, $1, $2, or $3 a piece, then a royalty percentage of tens of thousands of these NFTs that include your art could really be big. So we're already working with an expanded team now on getting Turf to be a part of more event experiences and conference experiences. And we're making some pretty good progress there. And well, actually, we did a sort of sample event NFT together with a local event in the Netherlands. And we already paid out some initial royalties to the owner of that particular Turf art.
Very cool.
Which was a significant part of the original purchase price of the NFT that he got. So there's a lot of potential there. We're still figuring out some of the details, but we're super excited and think this has huge potential to become big. Especially if people who own the Turf art now become incentivized to suggest to their own friends or event organizers that they know, hey, maybe you should also actually consider gifting a Turf NFT to your visitors. And then I think we really get into a very cool environment in which we have so many ambassadors that are growing the Turf brand together.
That's very cool. But now, how are you distributing the revenue to all the different holders of the NFTs?
Yeah, so we had lengthy discussions about this with our legal representation as well. Surprisingly, in Europe, they didn't necessarily see a huge legal challenge here, but it does come with a few requirements. So one is we need to do pretty strict KYC. And everyone who wants to opt in to receive royalties would need to sign an agreement. And this agreement outlines, okay, this is how the royalties work. And then you sign it yourself, and you need to go through a KYC process in which we need to collect your passport as well to verify your identity. We don't do that ourselves. We work with a third party called Fung.money. They are a soon-to-be regulated entity in the Netherlands. They take your data privacy very seriously. We cannot access the underlying data. They just tell us, is this person okay, yes or no? And based on that and the signature and a signed wallet connection to your account, we can then actually distribute the actual royalties using Cardano directly. And in that sense, it just really stays within the Cardano ecosystem.
Yeah, and it sounds all very complicated, but we're planning to make this a very smooth, automated process on our website. So in the near future, whenever you buy or mint a Turf NFT, you will be automatically prompted to review the terms or review the agreement. And then KYC is already part of our purchase process since, we operate within Dutch regulations. So this has always been a requirement, depending on some tiers, of course. If you buy one Turf square, then you just need to leave your name and email address. But if you buy above a certain threshold, you would already need to show your passport. So in that sense, it's not even going to be that different. So it's just one additional step, and then you would be entitled to receive any of the royalties over the sales that we make.
Gotcha. Okay. It sounds quite easy to do over there in Europe, which is a huge advantage for you guys. I know other people around the world are trying to work out how they can do royalties for their projects, but of course they're set up in different jurisdictions, which just make that so much harder. So I'm very, very lucky there.
Well, there is, of course, the big question of how will this work in the US, and we're still figuring that out. I think our NFTs really are very non-fungible, in the sense that all the art is very different, and that gives us a better position to argue that these aren't securities. So I'm hopeful that we'll be able to figure it out in the US, but it's definitely a much hairier jurisdiction. So no definitive answer on that yet, but stay tuned. Hopefully within a few weeks, we actually know more.
Wow. Okay. In a few weeks, you might know. Okay. To me, it does feel like a security. So, I'm holding this asset, you guys doing marketing or whatever, and selling the product, and I get revenue from it. So, it sounds like a security there, but I'll let your lawyers sort that one out and get that one pushed through. Now, I have to say, you mentioned Fung in there as well, and I did look at their website and everything around it after I did the mint, because I thought it was a very smooth purchasing process going through and signing up through that platform. So I did check them out as well, and I think it's a really cool platform. Can you talk a little bit more about that and why you chose them? Was it purely because of the KYC, or was it some other aspects there too?
Yeah, so I know the founders, or we know the founders ourselves, and they actually got started right around the same time that we got started on Turf 2. Yeah, we just explained, look, from a regulatory perspective, we do need to KYC people, and if you can help us in doing that, then that would be great. And the people behind Fung immediately understood the problem. They have built a payments company before as a startup in their career, not as founders. So they really know all the regulatory landscape and what is necessary from a technical and an operational perspective as well. So they're just a really great partner to be working on this. They're really professional in doing so, and the technology that they've built works fairly well, I think.
Yeah, I think also worth to mention is that together with Fung, already a few weeks ago, we soft launched credit card payments actually on our website, which wouldn't have been possible without them. And I think this is one of the first steps towards going more mainstream with Turf. Is you don't need a Cardano wallet, you don't need knowledge about how to manage all that, putting ADA in an account, etc. You can just check out, pay with your credit card, and you will receive an email with a paper wallet with a passphrase that if you need to, you can move your asset to a safe to a safe other wallet that you have created yourself. But that whole process is really, really smooth, and we've seen a few people, including aunts, moms, uncles, grandmas, I'm not sure, that have actually minted their first NFTs through Turf already. So that's really exciting.
That's brilliant. I love that approach of making the purchasing process so much easier. You assume most people have some sort of debit or credit card to be able to purchase things online, and just having that tied into the smooth purchasing of the NFT is, I think, a really good approach to bring on more adoption of blockchain and NFTs and everything else around it. Are you guys doing anything else to try and make this adoption any easier?
So we're working on a redesign right now, which puts at least the prospect of owning map art that you truly own more front and center rather than the NFT aspect. And then we're going to really be going out there, trying to reach a lot more media that isn't very crypto or Cardano centered. And well, this includes appearing on non-crypto podcasts, going live on product hunts, really positioning ourselves as a sort of collectible of map art, but also this my first NFT for your aunt, or your aunt's first NFT notion, and try to sort of position ourselves as the great way for those sorts of people to also enjoy owning an NFT for the first time.
It'd be really cool to see some of these pieces in art galleries maybe one day, and having displayed all over the place, and people experiencing it that way, but then realizing they can actually purchase their own part of the world as an NFT. So that's really, really cool. I love that. Absolutely love that. So now, what's coming next for the project? Like you've got all these stages of the project that you want to do. You're going to have the web store. You're going to build that out. What is the project going to look like in 4 or 5 years' time once you've built out some of these items on your roadmap at the moment?
Oof,
Well, it's a great
4 or 5
question.
years.
It's a hard
That's a
one.
long time in crypto world.
It is a long time, but crypto blockchain is supposed to last forever. So there must be a long-term vision that you guys have for this.
Yeah, so I think what you just said is sort of the dream. So I sort of view the normal turf collection as the first and the greatest turf collection. But we're going to be building it out in terms of the web shop and events based NFTs or other sort of color variation NFTs. But the original turf collection is the real one and the one that should show up in galleries. So I think if we're able to expand beyond the existing Cardano ecosystem, really get everyone's aunt to buy that first NFT, then we're going to be way bigger than just the current ecosystem that we're in. And then you're going to see that in 4 or 5 years' time, everyone has at least seen a turf, but very few people have a real first collection turf, and those will be shown in exhibitions, etc. And then I hope to be able to give royalties based on all of the art that's based on the original collection to all of the owners as well in every jurisdiction. We'll see what the legal decision on it is by then, but that would be really cool.
So in terms of partnerships and anything else that you might be working with or other companies that you might be working with, can you talk about anything that you might have planned in the roadmap?
Yeah, I think this is a good time to talk about the UNHCR collaboration that we're going to do at the Paris Blockchain Week. So we've already been talking to the Cardano Foundation for a very long time, for like at least more than half a year. And then at some point, the whole Cardano Summit NFTs materialized. But the initial discussions we were having was to do NFT drop together with a charitable organization. And that eventually became UNHCR. So we are at the Paris Blockchain Week. We're launching an NFT collection, or actually 2 NFT collections. One to support underfunded crises around the world, which is a very big topic within the organization of the UNHCR. So there's, I think, 12 or 14 countries that really are struggling a lot with their internally displaced or externally displaced people, don't have the means to help them. So we're launching this NFT collection, for which all the proceeds will go into the UNHCR stake pool, which you have discussed with Alvaro on your previous episode of the podcast. And then the other NFT collection will be to support the crisis that's currently ongoing in Turkey and Syria because of the earthquake that happened there a few months ago. So the proceeds of that will directly go to fund the aid on the ground in Turkey and Syria. So we're launching that at the Paris Blockchain Week. It's also a collaboration with NMaker. So also there you don't need any knowledge of the Cardano blockchain. You don't need a wallet because they do have their payment service as well. What's it called again?
MoonPay, I think it was.
Sorry?
I think it was
MoonPay. They use MoonPay for it, exactly, yeah. So you can also pay with your credit card or any regular fiat, I believe. And then, we hope to raise awareness, first of all, but of course also raise funds to help support these crises. So the NFTs will be, again, derivative NFTs based on the original turf art, but with different colors, different locations. The layout of, for example, the interactive version of the NFT will be different. There will be some information to, as I said, to help with awareness raising and explain something about the locations that need the money so hard.
That is a brilliant use of blockchain to raise funds and awareness of these various causes, especially when you said there's 14 or so regions around the world that actually need a lot of funding and help I wouldn't have a clue of what they are, but going through the mint process, I'll be educated around what UNHCR are doing, what causes they're trying to help with as well. So I think it's an absolutely brilliant use of blockchain and NFTs.
Yes. Yeah, we're very happy that we that this project also materialized, and that we in this way can help a little bit too.
I'm looking forward to that mint. Now,
Yeah.
I've got one last really big question for you guys, and this one is around going cross-chain. Would you guys consider going cross-chain, expanding to other larger ecosystems? You're laughing, but it's a big question here.
Yeah,
We've talked about it.
Yeah, we did. This morning we talked about it.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, I think nothing definitive yet, but I do think it makes some sense for us. Like, there's a lot of world to go around. I think it will help expand the brand of Turf to be available on multiple chains. But at the same time, like, we started with Cardano and it's a pretty cool ecosystem. So we need to think deeply about whether we want to go cross-chain or just onboard a lot of people onto Cardano exclusively. And that depends a little bit, I think, how things go after the mainstream push that we're planning to do in the next few weeks as well. If that goes really well, then maybe it's not necessary to go cross-chain. If we feel like we're getting a lot of questions, especially from the mainstream audience or from other audiences that say, hey, I love this, but I'd like it to be on Polygon, well, we'll consider it, and maybe we will actually end up doing it. But if we do that, then you can always choose to mint your turf on the blockchain that you desire. So if you prefer Cardano, then that will be the option, right? We haven't really talked about bridging assets yet. Feel like that's a bit of a hairy topic, but who knows, maybe.
I mean, that would be like the ideal world would be that, right? Minting on any chain and then also bridging whenever necessary if you want to sell your asset to someone that happens to be on another chain. It would be really epic. But obviously technologically not trivial, maybe legally also not, I don't know. But yeah, it's an interesting thought.
Okay. A very interesting future indeed. Hopefully, fingers crossed, with all the mainstream push, you don't need to really consider the cross-chain side of things. But from my personal point of view, the future of blockchain, cryptocurrencies in general, is interoperable, and there will be a point when users won't know what blockchain they're using, and they're just using crypto, blockchain, NFTs. It's just a word and terminology that describes all the chain's technologies and all interoperable and connected everywhere else. So hopefully we do get to that point sometime soon.
Yeah, I think one last interesting thing to mention in this context is that, of course, if a square of, or if a turf would be minted on one chain, it will be not available anymore on the other chains, of course, right? So it will still be one of one. It's not that we're going to launch a side turf on another chain. That would be cheating, of course. So we'll definitely stick to the one of one, to the unique aspect of turf.
And there's a lot of turfs, so there's no shortage of spaces that people can purchase. So there's a lot there for people.
So maybe one more thought is, like, I do think, yes, there is a lot of turf, but there's only a limited set of truly interesting turf. Like, of course, you have a fond memory of a particular region with a beautiful house, but there are also a lot of regions on the planet where there are no houses. It's just desert. So there's also a lot of wasted space, but still then there is a lot of turf. For sure.
I did have a look at some of the regions in the middle of Australia, and it's just like, do I want to spend the ADA on this? I know it would be unique and no one else will want it, but
if you have the fond memory, it doesn't really matter. And we do see that a lot of the reasons why people get a turf in the first place is because they have some sort of emotional connection to it. And not necessarily because they feel that they're going to flip it and make a lot of money on it. Maybe parts of Manhattan are bought with that reason, but probably the house in Thailand that you're thinking of, you're never going to sell it, and rightfully so.
Yep. Yeah, I'm not selling. Holding on to that one. All right. Where can people find out more about the project? And do you have any Discord communities or anything like that where people can join in and trade, talk about their turfs, and work out some other interesting locations?
All the normal channels. I just recommend going to turfnft.com. It's our main website. It's where you can mint turfs, where there's more information available, and also with links to our very active Twitter and Discord communities. Twitter account and Discord community. So I think that's the place to start. Brilliant. On Twitter, we regularly post interesting stuff about, well, for example, we're working on a thread on KYC, why we need to do it, etc. We do giveaways from time to time. All the latest and greatest will be on Twitter. Also, regarding the redesign, we're posting updates there. So if you want to follow the project, definitely check out Twitter and Discord as well.
Yeah, and if you want to contribute, specifically in Discord, we also have channels to show off the turf that you got, both in the digital form and in the print form. Like, we've sent hundreds of prints around the world by now, and every now and then someone shares a picture of a turf that they framed and hung in their wall. And yeah, we just really love to see that. So if you got one, please show it off.
There's a perfect space behind me here for my printed turf, so I just got to get around to going through that process of getting the physical print. I've got it on like a hardware wallet. I'm assuming I have to prove it from the wallet and all that, so I have to get the hardware wallet out again. But yeah, I'll get that done. Next interviews, you'll see the turf map behind me.
Nice.
Brilliant, guys. Thank you so much for joining me on this episode and talking all about the project, and congratulations on the successes so far. And I really hope you guys get out into the mainstream, and we see you on like a USA Today or something like that. And you're doing interviews about that. That'd be brilliant.
Great. Thanks so much. Thanks for having us. And I think, well, you mentioned that you looked at areas of Australia that you weren't sure if you want to spend the ADA. We totally, just for thanking you, want to give away a turf square. So if you send us any location, we can make sure that it arrives to your wallet soon.
Oh, great. Now I can actually pick that blank bit of desert in the middle of nowhere.
Exactly. We're more than happy to send it to your wallet.
Awesome, guys. Thank you very much. We'll chat soon. Now, if you really enjoyed that, please consider giving me that thumbs up, click subscribe, click on that notification bell. Every little interaction there really helps with the discoverability of this channel, really gets the video content out there. Other ways you can support the channel is by purchasing some merchandise. There's cool stickers, badges, and all sorts of things around the Cardano Press Wapu, the NFT series that we're releasing, and also the Learn Cardano ecosystem too. So lots of merch there for you guys to check out. If you have a request, please let me know too. But that's it for me for this video, and I'll see you in the next one.
Yeah, gotta do it like that. You've been listening to the Learn Cardano podcast. Gotta get it hype. Crypto is what we like, but this is not investment or financial advice. Gotta do your research, cause it's risky. We know it is. This show is educational and it's informative. Crypto's the future, really, it ain't no debate.